President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, call for Islam at a meeting of the Muslim American Society, MAS, theme Take Up the Time. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan attended a meeting of Muslims in the United States by video conference. This year, we had to fight not only the COVID-19 virus, but also the virus of Islamic hostility that spreads faster than it said. It is the duty of all of us to put aside all our differences in the face of attacks on our sacreds and to meet in the common denominator of Islam urged. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said, in recent days in France, under the name of freedom of opinion, you are also closely following the scoundrels against our Prophet Muhammad. Insulting the sacred people has nothing to do with freedom. Because the thought is different, the insult is different, said Erdogan, in a video conference call to the 23rd Annual Congress of the Muslim American Society, MAS, said that he was very happy to be with those who attended the Congress, albeit via video conference. I want to convey to you the greetings of your 83 million brothers in Turkey. Through you, I send my greetings and conversations to our brothers and friends around the world, to the oppressed and victims who followed our meeting with great excitement. Erdogan wished that the 23rd Annual Congress of the Muslim Society of America would be successful. Erdogan, who wished that the Congress would be an occasion for good for the entire Islamic world, thanked those who contributed to its organization, said, the heart would want us to hold this beautiful meeting face to face, let me rubru hasbihal with you brothers. But the coronavirus epidemic, which affects our countries along with the entire world, does not allow such a hug this year. This year, we are experiencing both such programs and our holidays, which are the symbol of our worldwide brotherhood, a little bitter, he said. We are well aware that no boundaries can be drawn between hearts. For those whose hearts and hearts are one, and for those who throw, distance and obstacles are of no value. Although we are not physically together, I know that our hearts are one and together with all my brothers and sisters who are watching us on the screens right now. I hope that we will come together physically in a short time. The phrase he said. Erdogan, who noted that this year humanity is fighting a major health crisis, an epidemic of coronavirus, said, the epidemic, which has cost the lives of about 1.5 million people so far, continues to spread in waves. Almost every day we receive news of the death of a loved one, a close one, a neighbor or an ancient friend whose presence we find peace with. As people who know that the life of this world is to be tested by existence and absence, we are patient, even if the pain of what we have lost burns our hearts, and we ask our Lord to save us and all humanity from this calamity as soon as possible. I wish Allah's mercy to all our brothers and sisters whom we sacrificed to COVID-19 disease, condolences to their relatives, and urgent healing to our patients, he said. Hadrat Mevlana said, there are many hopes after despair. There are many suns behind the darkness. His word continues to be a guide in the fight against the epidemic, Erdogan said. As members of a religion that equates eating and despair with blasphemy, we have never lost hope, we do not lose it. Believing in the power of solidarity, the abundance of sharing, we cling to caution and admirably continue our fight against the epidemic with determination. In our faith, every test is also an example. The epidemic reminded us not only of our worship and inability, but also that the fate and grief of all humanity, regardless of religion, language, race, color, country, is common. In this process, we said, Harun Nas, Menyenfun Nas, and said, the best of people is the one that is useful to people. Based on his advice, we have mobilized all the opportunities we have for humanity. In addition to meeting the needs of our own citizens, we also sent medical supplies and equipment to 156 countries and 9 international organizations that requested our country without any discrimination. From Palestine to Somalia, Yemen to Libya, Arakan to Afghanistan, Guinea to Lebanon, Pakistan, we have extended our hand to help all our brothers in our heartland. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan expressed support for the health workers fighting COVID-19 with 2 aircraft loads of medical supplies sent to the United States on April 28 and May 1, 2020. Your ancestors do good, throw it into the sea, and if the fish does not know, the Creator knows. Erdogan, recalling that he said that they look at the aid work that they carry out in different geographies as Turkey with this view, continued. We do our help not as a public diplomacy or coronavirus diplomacy, but as a requirement of our faith and faith, of course, of our Islamism. We also see that the American Islamic community has taken a really admirable stance in this process. Foundations and associations based in America have rushed to the aid of needy people in different cities with aid campaigns they have organized. From online psychological support to addressing the needs of elderly people who cannot leave their homes due to the epidemic, they have all signed valuable works from each other. I sincerely congratulate all my brothers and sisters who have shown the beauty of being a Muslim to American society through their experiences. I believe that this exemplary behavior of you is the most fundamental answer given to those who try to identify Islam with terrorism, violence, and ignorance. This year is not just COVID-19 virus spread faster, but anti-Islam they were forced to fight with the virus. The President Erdogan considered the cradle of democracy in the countries of many years, cultural racism, discrimination, intolerance has reached proportions that cannot be hidden, no longer said. Erdogan noted that hostility to Islam and foreign opposition have turned into a current that captures politics, complicates daily life, directs state policies, and in many countries, the othering of Muslims because of their faith, language, name, or disguise has now become commonplace. The burning of the Quran in Sweden, the tearing of the Quran in Norway, and the promotion of cartoons insulting the Prophet in the name of press freedom in France are just some of the attacks on the saints of Muslims, President Erdogan said. Last year, the terrorist attack in New Zealand in which 52 of our brothers were killed showed the threat we face as humanity. In 2017, 6 Muslims were killed in a mosque attack in Canada. Previously in 2015, 3 children were shot dead in their home in Chapel Hill, again by a racist. Of course, Muslims are not the only targets of racist actions. Other segments whose identity, appearance, and religious affiliation are different are also negatively affected by these attacks, he said. Erdogan noted that far-right groups target African, Asian immigrants as well as Muslims as well as Jews. We see that this ideological fanaticism, which is no different from Daesh or FETO in mindset, is gaining more and more ground, even encouraged at the level of the head of state. In recent days, in France, under the name of freedom of opinion, you are also closely following the scoundrels against our Prophet Muhammad. Insulting the sacred people has nothing to do with freedom. Because the thought is different, the insult is different. Treating an insult as an idea is an insult to thought in the first place. Those who pat the back of those who burn the Quran, those who encourage insult to our Prophet Muhammad, those who ignore attacks on mosques, do all this not in the name of freedom, but to hide the fascism within them. Beware, while they take any attack on our biblical values in the bracket of freedom of opinion and the press, they cannot tolerate even the slightest criticism of themselves. Sometimes they threaten, sometimes they scold journalists, sometimes they personally press newspapers with the security forces, and they report to those who harm their interests. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said, "We have to defend the right of Jerusalem, which is the Haram-i honor, pupil of the Islamic Ummah, at the expense of our lives. As Turkey, we approach the problems in different parts of the Islamic geography, from Palestine to Libya, from Nagorno-Karabakh to Syria, with this understanding," said Erdogan, in a video conference call to the 23rd Annual Congress of the Muslim Society of America, mentioned that the biggest reason why the enemies of Islam and humanity are so reckless is the inertia and heedlessness of Muslims, stressing that Muslims are not only in economics, politics, defense, and diplomacy, but most of all among themselves. We see that Muslim minorities living in non-Muslim countries, especially Shia Sunni, black and white, African Asian, Arab Persian, fall into serialization among themselves. However, in Surat Hujurat, our Lord said, "Inimal mu'minun ibatan," believers are only brothers. It sets out the framework of the relationship between Muslims, he said. In his farewell sermon, our Prophet said, "Neither the Arab has the superiority over the non-Arab, nor the non-Arab has the superiority over the Arab. Superiority is only in piety." It draws a clear line on this issue, he said. However, whoever puts his ethnic affiliation before his religious identity means that he is a sabiyati jahiliyat, that is, he is suffering from the disease of people. Erdogan, who used his statements, continued, "Whoever despises his brother because of his origin, race, or skin color, he has not understood the spirit of Islam, mercy, the blessed message of our Prophet Master. Because we are Muslims who said Bismillah ilast kalubela before becoming Turkish, Arab, Persian, African, Malay, Indian, American. It is the duty of all of us to put aside all our differences in the face of attacks on our saints and to meet in the common denominator of Islam. A Muslim does not eat the right, nor does he allow his right, his law, his honor to be extended. Muslims do not engage in violence, nor do blind violence consent to someone usurping their rights. A Muslim is the representative of a mission that assumes responsibility for peace, for justice, for the peace and well-being of all humanity. He is a man who instills trust in his Muslim environment, where people are sure of his hands and language. It is not appropriate for a Muslim not to give hands to people's lives, property, dignity, or even respect, because it is from another religion. It is not for a Muslim to shut up in the face of injustice and lawlessness, no matter who comes from. It is not for a Muslim to turn away from his brother or dagger his brother in the back." Erdogan said, "We, as a member of the Ummah, bear the responsibility of our billions of brothers and sisters together with our own people, our families, and our neighbors. We also have to protect the law of Syrian oppressed, Yemenite children broken by hunger and disease, Palestinian orphans," he said, Erdogan said. "We have to defend the right of Jerusalem, which is the Haram-i honor, pupil of the Islamic Ummah, at the expense of our lives. As Turkey, we approach the problems in different parts of the Islamic geography, from Palestine to Libya, from Nagorno-Karabakh to Syria, with this understanding. We stand upright in front of the oppressors, we stand firm, we hold the hand without looking at the identity of the oppressed. We are not afraid to react in the face of the improprieties against our saints while we are waging a relentless struggle with terrorist organizations. As a country that has been home to different cultures and beliefs for centuries, we strive to prevent ethnic and sectarian conflicts. We are trying to follow a balanced, just and confident policy that will be an example for all humanity, especially with regard to religious freedoms. Just as we do not interfere with anyone's faith or lifestyle, we guarantee the freedom of worship of all our citizens living in our country. While we have restored the Hagia Sophia Mosque, which was used as a museum for 86 years, we do not neglect the restoration of the Sumila Monastery, which is one of the symbols of our country with its 1,600-year history. We have no other way out than to meet in the common denominator of Muslims, to love each other for Allah, for the sake of Allah. The more our brotherhood is, the more wise our Islam is. Erdogan said. Erdogan said that the only way to find permanent solutions to problems is to unite around common values, to clamp down and to increase cooperation in today's globalization of problems along with opportunities. It is only in this way that we can frustrate the trap that collapses us from the inside and leaves us powerless, and it is only in this way that we can establish the true Islamic brotherhood. Erdogan said. Erdogan said, I believe that when we implement these basic principles, we will both clinch our unity and unity among ourselves and take a much stronger position in the global plan. I think that this year's meeting organized by the Muslim American Society, MAS, with the theme of Take Up the Time will contribute to these efforts. I am also happy to see that the American Muslim community is becoming more organized. In fact, today's meeting is one of the biggest indicators of this. I want you to know that we support the work of Muslim organizations in America, especially the Muslim American Society, MAS, which has brought us together today. Erdogan stressed that the Turkish community living in America gladly follows the close fraternal relationship it has developed with other Muslim groups. In 2016, they opened the Religious Center of America located in the state of Maryland is also at the service of all Muslims living in the United States, Erdogan said. Acting in unity and solidarity after last year's arson against the New Haven Religious Mosque, I thank you both for your quick response to the attack and for your valuable contribution to the repair of our mosque. I would like to express our satisfaction that the Muslim representatives in the Congress have been re-elected in the elections we have left behind. I hope that the current number of Muslim representatives will gradually increase and that the Muslim community will become more visible in Congress and American politics. I would like to point out that we, as the Turkish state, are ready to give all kinds of support to any initiatives and projects made by the American Muslim community in this direction, as we have so far. I say that Allah will make our brotherhood permanent and make our conversation eternal. I believe that the brotherhood climate formed on the occasion of the 23rd annual meeting of the Muslim American Society, MAS, will give hope and strength to the Islamic Ummah. He says, peace, mercy and blessings of Allah be upon you, and I entrust you all to Allah. Stay healthy. Thank you for listening to the news.